The nice thing about this particular, I was a real throwback, is it works really well with the no boil lasagna noodles.
Okay.
But if you don't want to use lasagna noodles, any thick noodle, this sauce for this is so good that you can make any. You could even use stuffed shell. So that's one of the dishes. I'm going to actually make the grinders, and then if we have time, I'll layer out the lasagna that I'll bake tonight. The other part I'm going to be doing today is a pepperoni puff, and then I'm going to also do an apple and carrot muffin. So the first thing I want to get started with, though, is the pepperoni puff. So
Frank, I'm gonna butt in and interrupt you to say that you're already getting the loving the Frank apron comments. Okay, which I was
it's
gonna say
back.
when I jumped on here. It's like I love that apron. So I'm expecting to have a lot of more of those comments, and every now and then I'll let you know, or I'm sure Sherry will let you know about that.
I do
Yeah.
like this apron. I do. I trade off between this apron and my apron from Sherry. So, uh,
Great
so
combo.
I think so. It's a nice mix. I'm going to use pepperoni in both recipes today. But
Okay.
there's a hint. Now, there are three different ways you can buy pepperoni. You can buy the traditional in the long stick, which has a peel and is a real pain in the neck to slice for food, but it's great. Or you can go to the deli section and you can actually have them take sandwich pepperoni, which is this big, and then tell them, I want you to cut it into a size 6, which is about a quarter to a half an inch thick, and then just get a pound, a half pound, whatever you want. But they're already thick, so you're halfway there. All you have to do is cube it. Or you can do the same recipe with the one that comes in a packaged container, sliced already. Either recipe will work, although for the puffs, you're going to want to have a little bit of cubing. So to flour, all-purpose flour, nothing special. And this is one of those quick throw-together recipes that are really nice and easy. I'm going to throw in some baking powder. And folks, if you do not bake a lot, something kind of important to realize, and it's so funny because I didn't bake for a long time. And then I started baking and I realized nobody really told me that. There's a reason there's an expiration date on some things. And yes, it's trending all over TikTok. You can go beyond expiration dates. But yeast, baking powder, not ones I like to play with
Right.
because they screw around when you do bake.
Right.
So pay attention. If you don't bake a lot, make sure your baking soda and baking powder and your yeast are somewhat close to the end date.
Okay. Good tip.
True words.
That's a 10-second cooking school right
It
there.
may have, yeah, I agree. That might have to be one of those. All right, so this is not the hardest. I just put um, my baking powder in, my all-purpose flour. I'm putting in. I had already cut and weighed out. Another thing, if you don't have a digital scale, get a really small one. So much easier, and you lose out on a lot of great recipes that come
Yes,
from
you do.
old school or Europe that are in by weights. And I actually say, if you don't like to bake, you'll discover baking if you have a scale.
Hmm.
Now
Trisha.
I'm putting the meat in this now because I want it to get a little coating. It's got shredded cheese, and yes, I did already rinse the cheese. I did. I swear to God, I already rinsed it. And for those of you who weren't on that live, I rinsed prepackaged shredded cheese to get the powder off of it because I want it to melt. This also has grated Parmesan cheese.
Ooh.
I'm going to add, because I happen to like it, a little extra flavor. So I'm adding some fennel.
Ooh, I love fennel.
I do too. I love the smell when it cooks. And as I do with most things, just a little bit of red pepper flakes and dried parsley.
Gotta keep it spicy all the time.
Yeah, just enough. I'm not putting salt, and I'm not actually going to even put pepper in this because technically speaking, the pepperoni has all your flavor already.
Right.
So this is super, super easy. And then I'm going to add a cup of milk.
Hmm.
They
and one
are,
egg.
Melissa Turner. Those are his measuring cups. They're so cute. They're little owls.
Yes, they are. My mom bought me those years ago, and they are little owls. And as you can tell, the ears have been broken.
Oh.
I lost one that got broken, but my mom bought those for me. Gosh, I can't even remember how long ago, and I love them. The interesting thing is they're accurate. I measured them against traditional
Oh, okay.
professional measurements. That's one of the things when you start buying on Amazon some of the measuring tools, double check them to make sure they're accurate. Some of them are not very accurate. So,
Maybe
you
that's
know,
what's
my
wrong with my baking.
I was at Cook's Country or America's Test Kitchen. They actually did an entire um, episode that talked about accuracy. All right, so let me show you how this looks. Now you could add chives to this. You could add whatever you want. The thing with this recipe is I do need to let it sit. That's why I made it first, because I need it to sit for a few minutes. So I thought I'll make it first and then I can move on to something else. All right, so we've got our pepperoni puffs waiting to go. Let's talk about this sauce. I have been talking about Trisha Yearwood's sauce. It actually came, according to the story, and I don't know, I saw this several years ago. It was a recipe from her husband, Garth Brooks. And on Sundays, quite frankly, I tend to watch the cooking shows every Sunday morning, and that sort of dictates what's going to be on my deck for the week. And I came across this a few years ago, and I thought, no way. Well, I made it. It was so good. I'm standing at the stove eating the sauce before I even made lasagna, and I've been making it 3-4 times a year ever since.
Wow.
So
Okay.
when I put this up on the blog, I'll make sure to reference the full recipe. I've added, I played around with it a little bit myself just for my tastes. So I'm
So
letting my
someone is
pot.
someone is curious to know about the brand of your burner.
I am using a Camp Chef.
Camp Chef. There you go.
Yeah,
Fredo's Kitchen. Hola. Welcome in,
they're
everybody.
not very expensive. And welcome in everybody to Food Talk. I am Frank_Mentor SF, and in my box today I have the queen of our grub match, Sketchy Chef, and the queen of all of us. I have Miss Sherry in the room. So I got the two queens with me today. I'm in
All
royalty
right.
today. And I
I'm not the.
welcome all of our, we are a group of creators at Food Talk TV, some of which are in the room. We go live every single day. One of us goes live. I'm here on Thursdays, but you can find one of us. You can go to the website, foodtalktv.com, look under the events, and you'll actually see who's going live when. We have blogs. We're on all the social media platforms. And most of us put at least one recipe from each of our lives up on our In the Kitchen blog. So you'll be able to find a lot of these recipes. While I get this tossing together, do you want to talk about Grub Match?
Yeah, sure. So for you who are new here, we have a show every Monday. It's called Grub Match, and it's a cooking competition show where I cook against someone every week with an ingredient that has been given to us. And if you've missed any shows of all those shows, you can find them on YouTube. You can also vote at grubmatch.tv. What else, Sherry? What am I missing?
It's the only live cooking competition on TikTok.
Yeah. Did I say that? I don't even know.
No, you didn't say it was the only.
It's the only live cooking competition show every Monday, 8 p.m. Central. That's right. And we're currently looking for competitors as well. You can submit an audition video at grubmatch.tv if you would like to challenge,
Or foodtalktv.com. Either one. And it tells you how to submit a video. You need to have 1,000 followers so you can go live. Yes.
My brain is so scattered with all the ingredients, All I'm thinking about is every Monday, what am I going to make? What am I going to make?
Oh, I can only imagine. All right, so let's talk about this sauce. The magic of doing this sauce and what makes it so universally good
Just a
is
minute.
is that you don't have to have all these ingredients. If you don't have a full shelf of supplies of seasonings, because you're using pepperoni, pepperoni already has flavoring in it. When you put it in early, all of the fat in the pepperoni leaches out. It adds to everything, and it also makes all of the seasoning that you don't
Kind of
have to
like
have at
cookie
the
dough,
house.
right?
Kind of like
Kind of
that.
like cookie dough.
Yeah, kind of.
Okay. Hey,
Now,
hey,
Frank,
Frank.
can you tell me how you'd add cookie dough to that recipe?
Oh, I
No.
would add cookie dough. I would turn this into a pot pie, and I would put the cookie dough on top.
Okay, there we go. Pot pie. I like that idea.
Listen, somebody is asking, what is he making? And where did you
I
get your apron? I love it.
I'm making the start for something called Cowboy. It's a sauce called Cowboy lasagna. I'm going to use it for grinders. It's a Trisha Yearwood sauce actually, and I'm adapting it for sandwiches because the sauce is literally so good that when I added more meat to it, I could it's got enough texture and stuff in it, so I'll be able to eat it for lunch, make a lasagna later tonight, and either bake that today or tomorrow, and I have dinner. I discovered this recipe several years ago when Trisha Yearwood was on doing her. It's her husband, according to the lore. It's her husband's favorite recipe. She put it out. I fell in love with it, and now I make it when I want to do a quick lasagna. Meaning, you can have this sauce ready to go in 20 minutes, and then you can make your lasagna. So I've got this cooking really quick. I want to get that hot. That's just ground meat. I'm trying to, and because I'm going to be adding sausage. Now, I'm using a sage flavored sausage, hence not
Yum.
having to add fresh sage leaves. Yes, I use this particular brand. You can use whatever brand you have access to. This is the brand I have access to, so that's what I use.
Man, Frank, you generate questions galore.
I
All right.
know.
Good.
We've got two or three wanting to know where you got your apron, and then somebody wants to know where you got your Dutch oven.
Okay, my apron. I do not remember. I believe I got this. I think I got this at a craft show. I went to one of those craft shows one day, and I just fell in love with it, and I said I'm going to get it. But you can find this fabric. It's a very typical fabric you can find in most fabric shops, actually, and I think that's why somebody had done that. And then, where did I get my Dutch one? Okay, so this Dutch oven is not a fancy one, but it's not the cheapest. I actually forgot until I just looked. It's a Martha Stewart Dutch oven. I've had it. I will tell you, this Dutch oven has gone. I've made bread on the gas grill and then cleaned it, and take the black soot off. It has gone through. I use it for everything. I bake bread in it. I deep fried in it. But it's a Martha Stewart one. But you can use any of the newer ones that are now available.
Okay, another question. What meat did you add, and how much is the ratio?
Traditionally, if you're going to make her recipe, it's a 1-1 ratio. It's a pound of ground chuck, it's a pound of bulk sausage, and a pound of pepperoni. I am making this because I want it for lunch. I'm actually not good. I'm using more, so I think I used 2 pounds of ground meat. I'm actually taking some out right now because I want to make some room and I don't want it to steam. I'm using a pound of sausage and about a pound and a half of the pepperoni. But again, this is definitely one of those that you can sort of customize to your flavor palette. But because I want to use this for lunch, and it's sort of it's not going to be sweet like say a manwich or a sloppy Joe, which is why I like it. I tend not to like products like that are super sweet. But it's got all this great flavor. And again, it's something that you can keep handy with a lot of stuff that's in your cabinet already. All right, so now I'm going to throw in, just tossing it in, nothing really fancy. My ground sausage goes in. Grab my meat rag here. And I'm also going to throw in at the same time It's about a medium large onion that I diced up. Get that cooking. I don't tend to add extra garlic to this, although you could very easily because I just some days I do, some days I don't. I think the pepperoni carries a flavor, but if you had garlic powder, throw it in. Totally you.
Hey guys, if
All
you
right.
want to follow the cook, you see that little sign right behind his Dutch oven? It says at Frank_Mentor SL. You can follow him right there. But please follow Food Talk TV and follow Sketchy Chef. She is our grub match lady. Hi, Gina.
All right. There you go. So we've got the meats cooking a little bit. I'm going to open up a couple cans in a minute while they are cooked. And in the meantime, what I'm going to do is start for the muffins. So this is going to be multiple things at once. This particular recipe that I'll have up on the link that I'm basing this on does one pretty substantial lasagna. So I found that I just literally would stand at the stove and eat the sauce. It was that good.
I don't know where
So
Trisha went.
I don't know. Keep it. Let me know if she comes back then.
Okay, she'll holler. I think, what kind of sausage was that you used?
I used the Jimmy Dean sage flavored, but you can use any. You can use bulk sausage. If you're using a plain bulk sausage from the butcher or the grocery store, I would suggest that you plan to add more seasoning. So then you would want to add fennel, sage, oregano, garlic, poultry mix, whatever your preferences are, to it, because bulk sausage, what's different about using those Jimmy Dean style tube sausages is that there's no flavoring in most bulk sausages.
Right.
What I'm opening
Am I
now
here?
are, yep, you're there.
Okay, it's my internet. Sorry.
All right. No problem. It seems to be an issue for, I had issues this morning on work. All right, so I'm just letting this cook down. It's got about a few more minutes, and then I'll be able to go on from there. You could, if you want, you could put a bay leaf in here if you like that flavor. It's not in her recipe. I've done it because I happen to like them, but totally optional. I think what I wanted to show is how you could find something on one recipe, say, wow, that would be good on this, and give yourself permission to do that. All right, I think we're
I'm
getting
already
ready.
thinking.
So this is those little pepperoni slices you buy in the plastic container. That's what I cut up last night, and I had a little bit of leftover of the diced one. They're all going in now.
We got people coming in. Hey, guess who?
Hey, everybody.
It's
All right.
Bradley.
Hey, Bradley. All right, so this is going to be, so traditionalists who
Andrea's here
are,
too.
uh-oh, hey, Andrea. So if you are a traditional Italian American or Italian descent or Italian, and you're dropping in, let me tell you right now, don't come for me. This is not traditional lasagna. This is a quick, do-it-home lasagna that was inspired by Trisha Yearwood's husband and Trisha Yearwood, her cooking show years ago. I loved it because it was quick. I like lasagna, but when I make lasagna, it's an all-day affair. I wanted something for when I wanted to have a nice hearty meal without getting lost in the process. So to this pot right now that I have is I had 2 pounds of ground beef, a pound of sausage, and about a pound of pepperoni that I sliced or cubed, depending on how I get it.
You need to tell us how that smells, okay? Because I know everybody wants to know, because I want to know.
It's pretty intense. You've got the meat. You got the meat flavor, and then you have the pepperoni. I think a lot of people don't ever heat pepperoni up. So if you've never really smelled it, and you could use Teresa too. You could use any, you could use any meat like that. But pepperoni is, it brings out all of its spices when it hits because it's got fat in it. So I just added a little bit of oregano. It wouldn't be a lasagna if there weren't a little bit of oregano in it.
Right.
I'm gonna add some parsley now because it's dried. Now, if you like a poultry flavor, like sage and those, you could add poultry mix. All right, I'm going to show you what it's looking like right now.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. Bradley says add some nutmeg.
No,
and I'm
Bradley.
Up here saying no.
No.
I think that was
right.
a jab at Sherry, but
It was. He's trying to be a nudge. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm making a hole in the center of the meat because it's a lot of stuff. And I need to get my tomato paste in here. Now, tomato paste is just tomatoes that are condensed, so they're going to have a really strong, rich tomatoey flavor. But most times it's rare you'll find a recipe that actually uses an entire 12-ounce or 16-ounce can. This is the reason we're doing this. We're making it intense flavors super easy. So, but I put it in the center because I want it to hit the main part of the pan. I give it a few minutes, and then I'm going to come back and start to incorporate it.
So Junk Food Junkie has a recommendation to add some paprika.
Paprika's already in
following a specific Trisha. Paprika's in the.
Paprika is in the pepperoni already.
Pepperoni, yeah.
And I like the fact that I'm using the flavor of the pepperoni. I love paprika, and I cook with smoky paprika, spicy all the time. So this is just enough without overpowering it to my taste. But if you are a big paprika fan, throw it in. But remember, paprika, fennel, a lot of those do better if they're toasted. So you want to actually get them at the bottom of the pan initially where the fat is, and then add them, because if you add them too much at the top, it takes longer for the flavors to settle in because they do well when they're toasted or heated first.
See how smart he is? You're so smart, Frank. Yeah.
All right, and that is just with the tomato paste. Now, fire roasted tomatoes and green chilies. Like I said, half of this is in your cabinet. Now, normally it is 1 can, but because I am adding more meat, I'm using 2 cans. And I also know, not that I have ever had any of this left over, I can freeze this. But I can be honest that there is usually not a lot of leftovers. All right. Now,
when I make lasagna, my leftovers last until the evening,
Yeah.
Nobody. Yeah, it's like we eat dinner, then we eat a snack later, and that's it. Lasagna's gone.
I actually, when I make my lasagnas now, I make them in a foil loaf pan because they freeze better, and then I do 1 big tray. This way, nobody can touch my loaf pan versions. And what ends up happening is I have something to put in the freezer for a rainy day, or give to friends. Oftentimes, I have a couple of friends that don't cook, so with something like this, it's perfect. Now, let me make sure I've got everything in. So,
that's so
onion. I have oregano, tomato paste, fire roasted tomatoes, pepperoni, sausage, ground beef, olive oil. I'm going to flavor it with salt, just a little bit, not much. I put a few dried things in, like dried parsley, dried oregano, a little dried, whatever. And I'll taste this in a little bit. But you see what I meant by saying it's really thick?
Mm-hmm.
I'm making it much thicker than it needs to be because I want it to go on my sandwich. Now, when it comes to lasagna, there's always a kind of a competition conversation with lasagna. Do you want a saucier lasagna or do you want a thicker lasagna? Meaning maybe not swimming in sauce. And I kind of like both. So what will happen is I will sometimes add some crushed tomatoes to this because I want, and it's got to cook. So I want it to simmer. And then what I do is it gives me sauce because I find that if you're going to reheat lasagna, you need a little sauce. But I don't want to
He,
open up a jar after I've already made this.
he is making Trisha Yearwood's Cowboy lasagna sauce.
All right. So this is the epitome of a fast. I am telling you, once this starts to combine in about 10 minutes, it's ridiculously good. It's just ridiculous. And now you see why you talk when I say I literally will sit at the stove and eat this. And that's where it came up one day for me thinking, oh, I could make great sandwiches for this. All right. Now I'm going to
Do
let
you
that do
put
its thing.
Italian? Do you put Italian seasoning in it?
You could. I didn't, but you could. Matter of fact, I have. I just don't have any.
But
And
he did add all the.
yeah, I did add oregano
No, I
and
was
some
about
of
to say, but you did add like the oregano, parsley. What else did you add? So you added a kind of combination.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's go back to.
Hello, Righteous Kitchen. Righteous Kitchen says she makes extra sauce to serve over the top. Yum.
Yeah, you need a little, and I also will make some. I will make some extra sauce for lasagnas, whether it's a quick lasagna or a long lasagna, because if you freeze it, what I actually will do is put it in a Ziploc and freeze it on top of the container so that it
Mm-hmm.
stays together. And I'm not because there's you go to defrost it, you bake it, and all of a sudden it's a little bit on the dry side. It needs a little
Right.
something. Okay, I can hear it talking to me. It's
You're so
making noises.
organized, Frank.
Uh, it's
Right?
all smoke and mirrors.
That's so smart to freeze the sauce with it, on the side to have some extra. That's smart and organized.
Well, yeah, I want to make sure that that I can do what I want to do. All right, and I get annoyed if I can't, and all of a sudden it's not where I want it to be. So I'm gonna go back to our puffs. See, they've gotten a little thicker. When I first made it, it was much looser. Now it's gotten a little thicker. And all I'm gonna do, this is not fancy. I'm just gonna throw them in muffins. You can make little ones. You can make bigger ones.
I can't wait to see these. And for everybody coming in, these are pepperoni puffs that he's
Right.
putting in the pan now.
So these are just now. I didn't have the appropriate measuring scoop for this size. So what I'll do is I just kind of go through. I get them all out first, and then I go back and I'll take out enough out of each one because I know what I want. This should make one tray. But my larger scooper that I would normally, my portion scoop, was MIA, which probably means it got used for ice cream last night. So it was probably in the wash, which happens
That
in
sounds
my
like my
house.
house.
Yeah. So, and you want to fill these about 2/3 of the way full. If you get an empty one, it doesn't matter. This recipe actually originated from the 50s. So I've got 3 generations of recipe that I'm showing you today. This one's from the 50s, actually 50s, early 60s. The other recipe that we're going to talk about in a few minutes came from an even earlier, and then of course the yearwood is a little bit later than that. So I'm going to be able to make today just enough for dinner. So this is not going to be, this is one of those things where you don't want to make a dough. You don't want to have to deal with all of that. It's just a super easy little something to have on the side. All right. I'll let you guys do a recap, maybe a food talk grub match while I throw these in the oven. And I'll be right back.
Okay, well, I'll tell you.
Well, let me tell you, Bradley just gave us the recipe for Italian seasoning. It's oregano, marjoram, thyme, basil, rosemary, and sage. That is Italian seasoning. I don't remember those puffs at Christmas. I don't know if I did like a ring. I think. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
And Sherry, you want to do the recap or whatever?
Hey, this is Food Talk TV. We are a group of creators. We go live every day right here. Not all of us. We take a day each. Hi, that crazy ant. He's making Trisha Yearwood's TikTok. Cowboy. It's Cowboy lasagna sauce. Yeah, that's it. And we go live
Sauce.
every day. And on Monday night, that girl right up there, she has a show called Grub Match, and she competes against a new competitor every week. And it's on Monday night, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. And she's going to tell you how you can get in on that. Tell them.
Okay, so you can go to grubmatch.tv and submit an audition video if you'd like to compete against me. That would be awesome. You can also watch every Monday right here on Food Talk TV, 8 p.m. Central. And then you get to vote for the winner at grubmatch.tv. So it's a fun time.
It is. I
I
love
think my
watching
internet is
her.
frozen.
All right, I want to make sure that I get everything. All right, so I'm going to make these apple muffins. They're basically carrot apple muffins. I had some sifted flour that I did last night with some baking powder included. It's just a standard one, nothing real fancy. I also am adding some sugar. Boy, that sounds and smells good, like ridiculously good. I'm going to put some
I
lemon
bet.
zest in this. Now, this is sort of an older school recipe. And actually, Sherry, I think this one might be out of the cookbook that you're going to see very soon.
Mm.
And apples. Now, I use Granny Smith apples for this, and I diced them earlier. But what I don't want, so I need I soak them with lemon juice and water. So I don't want I don't want that extra liquid in this. But I wanted to keep them from going brown, so I did that.
I
Found a
knew
few
that's
seeds.
why.
They're gonna. Yep. I want my apples to be white, although they will cook. Now they'll get a little bit brown, and I'm okay with that. What I also happen to do is I don't peel these apples. You know, I don't mind it. I use a Granny Smith because it'll hold together, but I'm not gonna peel it. I just can't be doing that. All right.
You
I
know
am.
that recipe for the for the fruit salad. You know that
Yep.
dressing I made out of the wooden cookbook. The
Mm-hmm.
bananas and apples never turned.
Yep. They don't. They won't all the time, depending on what's in the recipe. So I
Honey,
am adding some. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I could to this recipe had added pineapple juice if I wanted to. This is just some fresh ginger. It needs a little heat. I'm going to put a little bit of pumpkin spice or pie mix, whatever you particular you have home. It's probably about. I think I'm going to use today. Recipe is usually about a half a teaspoon. These apples were particularly good, so I think I'm going to kind of play around that one. I don't want it to overdo it. You could add more cinnamon if you happen to like cinnamon. If you don't like apple pie mix, you don't use it. Use something else, or just make your own mixes up. All right, so now I'm going to carrots. Just the shredded carrots. And I love carrot cake. I love carrot muffins. I don't like the healthy version, so that means if there's no sugar in it, I'm probably less interested. But I do love carrots, and it's so funny when I come across a really good carrot cake or good carrot recipe that I'm like all over it. But so this is sort of a variation. This recipe is older. It's not going to be maybe as sweet as some that we've experienced before, but it cooks really fast. Just breaking up the egg here. It's 2 eggs. And just kind of makes it easier to add this around. And I'm going to add just a little bit of that acidulated water. Acidulated water means water that you've added citrus to make it a little bit acidic.
Say that
That's
Okay.
again.
what keeps
I know. What was that?
acidulated. Basically, it's a fancy word of
Acidulated.
saying I put lemon juice on my fruit, or in the water that I have apples, avocados, or something sitting in so they don't turn brown, or bananas. That's what that means.
He likes it.
Oh, this is where I get in trouble because when I first made this, I literally, my household comes in, they're like, "What are you doing?" Nothing. Like, what are you doing? Just testing, just testing, because it was that good. It was literally that good of the flavor. All right,
My mouth's watering.
I am telling you, it is waterable. Uh, and now I'm just going to put in a quarter cup. Now you could use corn oil. You could use corn oil, fine. I'm actually using olive oil because I particularly like the flavor with the carrot of the olive oil, but it doesn't really matter. You can use whatever oil. You can use avocado oil, corn oil. Walnut oil is particularly good in this because it gives you that subtle flavor of nuts. If you wanted to, you could be adding nuts to this just as much. And of course, a little homemade vanilla. I go vanilla heavy, so I just stop trying to make myself measure it. I just go with what feels good because I like vanilla. Almond extract would go really well in this. And then all you're going to do is you're just going to incorporate and fold it all together. And this is where, when we look at some of the older recipes, you have to kind of just have some patience because, the flour is different than it was. So you may have to add a little more oil. You may have to add a little more water. If it's not coming together, it should come together so that you don't see as much flour. But if it doesn't, it means it needs a liquid. So when you're looking at older recipes, remember, flour, even the flour we buy in the stores today, isn't always going to have the same hydration. So sometimes you have to add more. And it's better to add it as you go along because you can't take it out once it's added.
Okay, a couple of three things. Number one, Trisha, her I guess her Wi-Fi, she's gone again. She may come back. I don't know. But what I was going to tell you is the Righteous Kitchen said, when you start singing Italian, we'll know it's good. And Junk Food Junkie said, did Frank just say homemade vanilla? If so, how did he make it? So maybe that's a TikTok he needs to do.
Yeah, it's funny. I just noticed that it's trending again. Homemade vanilla, when you get some really good vanilla beans, you want to make sure they're a good vanilla bean. And in my case, I did two flavors. I take those vanilla beans, I split them, and I do what's called a double fold, which means I'm using twice as many beans as because I want it thicker. I want it stronger flavored. So
Y'all,
what'll
it's
happen is,
good.
yeah,
It's
and
so
you just
good.
cover it in vodka and you let it sit in a dark place. You turn it around periodically. Takes several months. It takes longer than you like. Like if you start them now, it'll be ready. If you start them now, they'll be ready 4 months, maybe five. But I start a batch and then I start using it. I also did a batch with Fireball whiskey. They're going to be ready in May. And I did a batch with bourbon. Now, the whiskey and the bourbon ones are really great for short bakes because they need to, if you cook them too long, you actually cook the alcohol flavor. But the standard one with the vodka doesn't matter if it cooks out because that's the standard one you want. All right.
All right, can you
So,
tilt your camera down? The comments are in the, yeah, there we go. Um,
so I just added a little bit of more of that water and lemon juice because I wanted to make sure that this had enough moisture in it. Basically, I'm just mixing this until I do not see a whole bunch of loose flour, which is right about now. And I
and
can,
they're wanting to know what that is.
It's a carrot apple muffin.
Okay.
And if I were to dig my hands into this, which will eventually happen, I can feel it. It's got a nice paste consistency, somewhat like a dough. So it's got a nice thick batter. All right. And I would probably say if I were alone and I would probably taste it because I happen to know where my eggs came from. But I won't do that because I know it'll bother people. All right, so this is out of the way. I'm gonna get the next stage. And then we'll go to making our lasagna. Let's see, it's
Are those
12:42.
silicone? Are those
I
silicone?
These are silicone. I'm short a couple, but those are silicone.
I have silicone ones. I love them.
I do too. We're probably going to go over our hour today, I think, but that's
Oh,
okay.
it's only 2:42.
Yeah, we may go over. So I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. I like them bigger, but they don't have any, they have minimal rising, so they'll rise a little bit. I have to go check those pepperoni puffs in a minute. This is why I give up and I just start using my fingers because I don't mind, to be honest.
Yeah, it's your kitchen, right?
Hey, you want to eat in my kitchen? It's what happens. This
As my
batch will
son says,
make,
it is what it is. That's what my son says.
yeah, I mean, I could find the other, scooper, portion control scooper, but it's just one more tool to wash, quite frankly, and it's dirty. All right. Now this will usually make probably close to 18, 24, depending on how big or how small. So I'm going kind of an in-between size. But I do love these silicone muffins. I use them for everything. And they clean real easy, but unfortunately there was at least one that got probably given out in a recipe, when I made cupcakes or something and it never came back or somebody thought it was disposable. I'll buy a new
Don't you
set.
love that? Oh, there
Yeah.
she is. Okay, Sketchy was out for a minute and she had sent a message to the group, but she says her internet's very unstable. So,
Okay.
and it is. They've been out there. She was on the phone with them over an hour today.
All right. If she pops back in, let me know. So I'm going to throw these in the oven. Hopefully they will be done by the time we are. If they're not, I will, I'll do just like I've done before. I will be posting on Food Talk what the final muffin looks like.
And that's the good thing, guys, is if you want that recipe by in a day or two, it will be on Food Talk TV, just like in the upper left corner.com. And you can find the recipes. You can find information about the creators. You grub match, how to become a creator for Food Talk, how to join grub match, all the things you can do that. So, yes, Chef Bradley says Sketchy's a little unstable. Boy, that's the pot calling the kettle black. Oopsie. I'm picking up
All right. I just looked at the I just looked at the those muffins and they think they need about I think they're going to need about 10 more minutes because they're
the
just
puffs.
cooking. The puffs are need about 10 more minutes. They're just not quite brown. So give me a heads up in a few minutes just so I don't forget. All right, but let's talk about this. Look at this, people. Let me show you. Oh my God, this looks so good.
He likes this, y'all. You can tell.
This is just like, I could eat this. It's not particular, I used low fat in the terms of like probably 90 or 95.5% beef. So I didn't have to drain the fats out of it because I knew that it'll have more fat already because of the pepperoni. So how am I going to serve this? Well, I'll show you how I'm going to serve it for lunch. And then I'm going to start making that lasagna. Now,
Okay.
normally I would have made this on um, Italian bread, but I got some softer rolls instead. All right, so I just sliced them. I want a soft roll, not a super, super crunchy roll, but Italian bread would be great for this. Yes, I know this is supposed to be lasagna filling and sauce, but guess what? It ain't. This is now going to be a
Mama,
sandwich.
that looks so good. I know that's good. It's the same thing as a meatball sub, except the meatball is deconstructed, right? And better
Essentially,
sauce.
it's not only deconstructed, it's got pepperoni and pork. Now, when I make meatballs, I usually do more than one meat in it, but I don't always put pepperoni in it. But when I started to see this recipe, I was like, oh, it adds just this whole extra flavor. Is
Okay,
it
Frank.
messy? Oh, you damn well better think so.
Got forks for that. Read what Junk Food Junkie just wrote. You remember at the first
What?
when you were saying, remember when you were saying trying to figure out um, something else to do with it? He just said that sauce would be awesome over a baked potato with mozzarella cheese.
Oh,
Don't you
a baked
know?
potato or French fries, just fresh
Ooh,
hot French fries, just poured on top. I mean, I have that. You could just like now. So, for instance, I'm going to make lasagna with this, but you could use, you know, pasta noodles. You could take the same sauce and you could turn it into a baked ziti dish because it's got so
oh,
much stuff in it. But this is how the boys are going to get it. Now, I
Sketchy
could
wants
throw these.
in.
All
Sketchy
right,
wants in. Okay.
let's get sketchy in.
It's going to be so good. They're going to just, you're going to be, this day's going to be their favorite day of the week. It's my
All right. And I see Ashton. I haven't seen your comment. I may have missed it. They're flying by a little bit faster than usual today. Please go ahead and
what
repost it, and
thing.
I'll try and get to it. And we got Trish back. All right. So I
I
could
don't,
throw these under the broiler,
That looks
but they're
amazing.
so hot the cheese is melting. Oh, I guess some slipped out. I guess I could taste it.
Oops.
Oh my God.
That
I gotta
looks
wipe my mustache
delicious.
because it will turn my mustache red. So the pepperoni gives us this extra bit of spice without being, oh my goodness, hot. Here, let me fix this because I want to make it look pretty.
You
hey,
have a
smoke
question.
eater.
How can I get the recipe?
Yeah.
The, you can find all recipes you see at foodtalktv.com.
That's
Is
Okay.
it
right.
in the
The,
kitchen?
in, it's in the kitchen is the blog name. This recipe actually is adapted from, and I do not take full credit. It's adapted from Trisha Yearwood's recipe for Cowboy lasagna. I've adapted it to be a little bit meatier because I want to be able to use it not only for lasagna. I love eating it this way, quite
That looks
frankly.
delicious. Looks so good. Oh my
All
gosh.
right, let me go get those muffins. Let's see where we are.
Are
I'm
those
kind of
bolillo bun, or how you say it? How do you say
Bolillo.
what kind of
yes, I
buns are
believe
those?
those. That is the bun that. Yes, that is the correct word. The name for it. I happen to like the shape, and I think that they use them in a lot of different cuisines because they're soft. Um,
And Arkansas hates them because I've looked everywhere for them.
We have a lot of
all
those in
right.
Texas.
Yeah. You can use whatever kind of bun that is going to work for you. Some people love the round, crusty buns. Um, I
Ooh,
would tell you that what else would these be good? This kind of bun that would be great for this would be um, the rounds that you would normally serve like chowder in. Could you imagine
okay.
having this poured in it and then dipping
Like a
and
like a sourdough?
oh yeah, sourdough would be fine. It would be great.
I know somebody who knows how to make sourdough.
Yeah, those bowls, those bread bowls are perfect. And we traditionally in the East Coast would make them with, would serve them with, would serve them with chowders, creamy chowder. All right, where is my? Let's see these little suckers.
Piper Poppy says Italian sloppy Joe.
Pretty much,
Ooh.
it's Oh, ho, 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 ho.
All right. Listen, Junk Food Junkie, my name is Sherry. Look, it's right there. It's right there. And it would be, he said it would be good to put over the top of Fritos.
Oh, here we go with that. Oh my gosh, that's what I want. That looks so delicious.
Oh my goodness! And you know what? I didn't even have to gild the lily by putting shredded cheese on top.
Okay.
Ashton said, "Didn't I just say that? What did you say?" I might not be seeing all the comments because my internet's all messed up. But
Yeah,
They're going so fast.
you can make Frito pie with this mix. Totally, totally. Would be it would be phenomenal with the Frito pie type of effect. Oh my goodness, this
the
is like
righteous, the
ridiculous.
righteous kitchen said, "Oops, sloppy Giovanni."
Hey, call it whatever you
That's a
want,
good
as long
one.
as you're calling it something, as far as I'm concerned.
That's funny.
All right, so we have our
Italian jokes.
yeah.
Oops.
You know, hey, you know what? We got some funny things that we call our food, and a lot of our food. Sherry and I have this ongoing conversation of how so many of those are just regionally.
Look,
Now
that's
they're
so
a little
cute.
uneven, but this is
That's
rustic. It's
okay.
simple. It's super easy. All right,
Oh,
and
So
look.
cute.
I
now when you
know.
make these, folks, if you're not going to use them right away, immediately put your a thin edge and tip them on their side because there is cheese in there. So, you know, sometimes even though you greased it, it'll stick if they get too cold. I don't necessarily want to take them out of the pan fully because I don't want them to get cold if I put them like not like a cookie where I want it to, you know,
Right.
get room temperature right away. All right, so we've got another 10 minutes before those other biscuits are done, those other muffins are done. So I'm going to start to make the lasagna.
Well, I'm
And I'm
going to
going
ask
to
you, I'm going to tell you that somebody said, Frank, could you make a video of your garden outside?
that
Okay,
garden,
so
I'm
what
telling you,
I want to ask a question about it, and I've wanted to ask it every week, but I don't want to take up your time. But I
we got
do
time.
want to know how is that really outside that we're
Yeah,
seeing?
that is my deck. It's the area behind my deck. Most of my
Okay,
deck space is actually green and black bamboo, and then we have, you know, we didn't really when for a while I was traveling. So that big plant in the corner is actually a bird of paradise that became a tree. But we don't do much with it. You know, we know as many of you know, San Francisco has had an inordinate amount of rain. So right now everything is very lush. But we don't do a lot with our garden. I don't really plant much because it's a little more challenging to keep up.
does
So
it?
yeah.
But it's been green even when it was snowing here. How does it stay so green?
Well, you know, we traditionally have just enough moisture in San Francisco to keep, like, I have a lot of succulents out there. So they're all drought resistant style plants, and they do tend to stay a lot greener. Um, but, you know, when we were really having issues, with drought stuff, that was an issue. And a lot of the bamboo eventually dried off because I wasn't running the water line to it because I was traveling and I was working and somebody forgot to turn it on.
But see,
That
you
wasn't me.
forgot. But you, see, in Arkansas, it wouldn't stay that green, not because of drought, but because it gets so cold, it kills everything.
Yeah, the Bay Area, what we get, this is a rarity for us to actually have this much cold weather. Normally, we don't have it consistently. But yeah, we're lucky this way. I mean, we just have more issue with not having enough water. So a lot of us move to succulents and stuff that are drought resistant. All right, I'm gonna make my super easy lasagna now, based on the Trisha Yearwood recipes.
Junk Food Junkie says he's got to run, but everything looks amazing, Frank.
Okay, thank you. I am using the no-bake noodles, folks. Yes, I know, sacrilege, but guess what? They're convenient, and I don't have to. I
I was
didn't
just
Why?
use them.
gonna say that is so convenient. I've never used them, but not for any reason. I mean, I just, but I'm going to now. I'm gonna try because it's
I
such
Why
an
had
is it
done
easy
this.
way.
sacrilege?
You
Well,
know?
it's not a traditional thing, and I hadn't used them. And then one day, this recipe came along, and I thought, oh, I'm going to try it. And they've come a long way. Originally, that they weren't, I think, as good, but nowadays, I think they're great. So I put
I
a
want to
layer
try.
of yeah, oh yeah, I put a layer of meat sauce down. I'm putting another layer of meat sauce on this.
Do you put cheese?
Oh yeah, girl,
I think
cheese. Do I
Oh
put
yeah,
cheese on it?
girl.
what you
First,
think
the
I'm
grated
crazy?
cheese. All right. And do I measure this? No. Are there
No,
measurements? Obviously. Am I going to measure this? No.
no.
Now, I will show you what I do, though. I take the ricotta cheese,
I like the
a
way he
fresh
says,
ricotta, my ricotta,
yes.
and I do keep ricotta
What's that?
cheese at the house because I use it for a lot of things. And I put it in a bowl. I'm going to throw in some extra herbs. In this case, I want to freshen this up, so I'm going to use some basil. What
There we
else
go.
that I have already prepped? I got some basil in there.
Hey,
A
Frank,
little.
somebody said, is this the Home Shopping Network? Tell me,
No, it
no.
isn't. But yes, I do use my bowls come from QVC. I will admit that. So do my spices, but this is just because I use them. If they were to call me and say, "Do you really use this?" I would say, "Yes, I do." I am a huge fan of Lock and Lock as a product. I was very excited when they eventually went out and you could buy them in commercial stores. Although I still think I get the better deal. So what I'm making right there is just a real simple ricotta cheese. Let me shift it so you can see it. Sorry. This is ricotta cheese. I got some herbs in there, a little bit of grated cheese went in, and an egg. That's it. So that is an extra eggy layer. But this is how I grew up eating our lasagna. We would put the egg in there to bind the cheese. You could use cottage cheese. Some people don't like ricotta cheese and use cottage cheese because of the melt factor. Doesn't matter. All good. That's all.
Yum.
And I'm just gonna drizzle it on a couple different places.
Gorgeous.
I'm not gonna try and be too fancy with it. I'm just getting it out. And
Beautiful.
because that's not really enough cheese, I'm going over here to the cheese that I may have rinsed earlier,
He did. He's,
taking it
don't
out of
let him
that
fall.
bowl, and now I'm putting shredded mozzarella. I did. I rinsed all my cheese and then I dry it off. So now I've got grated cheese, ricotta cheese, and I have mozzarella. And now I'm going to go back. And the one thing is, because I'm using this particular bowl, this end has the line that went this way. I'm going to reverse it on the
That's what
opposite
I do.
side.
Hey Sherry, you asked the cheese question like 3 seconds too soon, right?
Yeah, but listen,
Well, it's because Sherry knows. Hey, Sherry knows where I'm going to go when it comes to cheese. It's happening.
yeah.
Hello there.
Well,
All right.
also, I
What can
like
I
the
do
way
for
he's.
you?
Hey, did you hear how he said mozzarella?
Mozzarella?
Mozzarella.
Yeah,
Mozzarella.
that's another one.
Mozzarella.
Oh, mozzarella.
Ricotta. How do you say it? I love it.
Hey,
Ricotta?
I like Italian.
Me too.
And I don't even always say it correctly. I'm just saying it the way I heard it growing up. All right, now I'm going to do
Good
the
enough for
exact
me.
same thing. I'm going to throw a little bit of. So I usually, based on, I'm going to get about two good layers here. Now, I know people who would take your mix and actually just mix the ricotta cheese into the meat mix. Works either way.
It wouldn't hurt a thing, would it?
Nope. And
Fork
if that
Girl
makes it
34
easier,
said, Fork Girl 34 said now she wants to make lasagna for dinner.
good. That's the whole idea of what I want to inspire is I want people to walk away thinking I could make that. A couple friends of mine caught the live last week, and they immediately raided their refrigerator, and they're like, "Oh, I have all the things to make the
Carrot
carrots."
hummus.
All right, I'm putting that on there. I
Red
got my
Wagon Bakery says lasagna is her fava. Me too. It's really good.
Well, I do like my lasagna. I used to make it. My friends would know that I've had a bad month, week, or had a relationship go crazy when I would make the really homemade one because it would, it always seemed to be the one recipe because you're making it so detailed and that you're focused. All right, last layer. All right, so in an hour, I was able to make biscuits, a sauce that I can use for lunch, and I could freeze this right now if I chose to, and or I could bake it and then freeze it. And I would have enough. This is about this amount of sauce that I made will actually make about three big loaf pans. If there's just two of you, like you and Jesse, maybe Sherry, this you would have to double this recipe, Trish, for your family. But if it was just the two of you, you could make three loaf pans of these and have them in the freezer, and you have dinner on a night when you just do not want to cook.
See, that's just perfect.
Yeah.
Because like
Yeah.
yesterday at lunch, I wanted something good, but I didn't have anything cooked. And then I remembered I had frozen soup. So I went and got
Hmm.
it out, put it in a bowl, put it in the microwave. It was done. Ta-da!
That's
Freeze,
it.
freeze it.
Exactly how to do it. All right, so now I got the rest of my grated cheese. I'm putting the rest of my mozzarella here, and I now have my dinner or freezer ready dinner set to go. Could I add
Beautiful.
more? Could I add more stuff? Totally. Could I add more? If I want to do a few glops of something, could I? Now, this is something I do. I will go back with a spoon and I'll look for any corners that I missed that have noodles showing, and I want to cover it. I want those noodles to be covered because they're no boil noodles, so I have to make sure that there's some kind of moisture covering them so that
Right.
everything gets soft. All right.
Well,
Now,
it's
because
going to
I'm,
be
yeah, so now, other than the messiness, it's hard to do it neat on camera. Here you go. I just made a lasagna that's ready to go in the oven, 350 degrees till hot, bubbly. It's about 40 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer. Traditionally, if you're using this, it could take, I would say 40 minutes. If I were to make this right now, it would be 40 minutes at 350 degrees. So I am going to go and I'm going to put this
Beautiful.
in the room and I am going to look at those muffins. I will be right back. Do you want to do a recap of Food Talk TV and Grub Match while I do that?
all right. Trisha, you go first.
All right. Want me to do Grub Match? So,
Yeah.
so everybody, if you're not familiar with Grub Match, it is on every Monday right here on Food Talk TV, and it is the only live cooking competition show on TikTok where two of us, which is me and a competitor, have an ingredient. We have 1 hour to cook and make our creations, and you can rewatch every show that we have had since January the 2nd on YouTube. Okay, you can go to grubmatch.tv to vote for the current show, which would be Monday show. And you can also sign up to cook. Grubmatch.tv, submit a video.
Video.
Yeah, so you can cook along if you'd like to compete against me.
Okay. So, and
All
this is
right.
Food Talk TV, where we take turns daily going live. I go live every other Sunday. Trisha goes live on Sketchy Chef goes live on Friday and on Monday to do Grub Match. Frank goes on Thursday at it's 12 his time, noon his time. It's 2. It starts at 2 our time, and he's
Central.
eating the sauce right in front of us. Look at him.
And
Look
what
He's
did
at
I
him.
tell you?
teasing.
What did I tell you last week? If it's good enough to stain my beard, you know it's got to be good.
You know, it's a beard stainer. There we go.
It's a beard stainer. All right, so let's recap today's meal. I just checked the apple carrot muffins. They're not quite done, so they'll probably. What I'll do is when I post a recap today with recipes, I'll show you some pictures. Maybe I'll do another TikTok. What we did though is I made a quick pepperoni puff. All right.
Beautiful.
Now you could use added cornmeal. This is just a flour base, super simple, comes together. And how do they look
I
inside?
love this.
They're just this lovely light.
Beautiful. Look at that. I can see the cheese.
And sort of just in case you need a little something extra.
Look at that. He's totally teasing. The apron, the muffin, the sauce. Okay.
Oh
The
my
garden in the background.
Oh my
The
God.
garden
Oh.
in the background.
All right. So now again, this is the time before I would have made everything. I would have checked for salt and pepper flavoring. I knew it was okay, so I didn't add. The other thing, and this is the lunch.
Beautiful.
This same sauce I'm using for sandwich filling today.
That's
Now, what I would probably do tonight after we've eaten this and before my household, this is what's left over. What I will do is I will put this on the stove one more time, and I will add a little bit of a smaller can of crushed tomatoes to it, and I will let it simmer for another 20 or 30 minutes. And that's going to make this a little bit saucier so that I have sauce to go on top of the lasagna and both
very
freeze.
small.
So it's loose enough now, but when you're eating lasagna, but because I wanted it loose meat style to make my sandwiches, you could call this an Italian loose meat sandwich, really, when you think about it.
Right.
Right.
Frank, you have a comment here. You are the best chef. Wish I could get the recipes.
You're going to be able to get all the. I tend to put all my recipes that I make whenever, or I credit where I got them, like more all of us do, on Food Talk TV. You go to the website.com, and then you'll see the blog is called In the Kitchen. And on there, you'll be able to search by food or if it's a meal, and you'll have all of our recipes. So we've got recipes from all of our creators, and then some of us always throw extra recipes. Just like Granny.com, just like Granny is one of our creators. She's always sharing many of her recipes. Sherry is constantly sharing, and Trisha, now that she's got Grub Chef, I'm always saying, "Ooh, give me that! I know you just made that up. Let's write it out." But all of them, we have gluten-free and keto style with Andrea, and gluten-free Mama Ann and October Dragonfly, and then we have our more formally trained chefs with us, cooking with Kaz and Chef Bradley. They bring out some of those fancy down-home, really good but classic recipes, and then occasionally surprise us with a throw together. And then we have Moises, who brings some incredible flavors to us that just stimulate us in eating.
And
So,
singing and dancing. Don't forget his
oh
singing.
yeah, he does his singing, and he got more energy at the end of the day than I do. But that's what so you can find all our recipes. You can find, we do these. You'll be able to actually see the live in a day or two on our YouTube channel. If you haven't, remember to subscribe on our YouTube channel, because
That's
you've
right.
heard me talk about Paul, who is my partner. He said he would do a cameo on a live if we got us up to 2,000 followers, subscribers on our YouTube.
Oh my
Because
God.
once we get 2,000, it gives us a lot more flexibility to go live on YouTube as well. You can
Right.
follow all of our creators. You can check on the creator link to find us. Some of the products, like many of you love, these are on our website. And if they're there or they're in my bio site, but they're easily accessible. And that's
Hey, you
everything
said
that we
you can
got.
search. You said you can search by food or recipe. Can you search by creator?
Yes, you can search anything. Any word will show up. I do have categories there, but if you just put the word in that you remember, you'll be able to tease through it. Yes, definitely searchable technology on that. Let's see, what else do I got? I'm making sure I didn't forget anything. Let me go check those muffins one last time if you all want to hang on, and I will, just in case, I get you a little snapshot of what they look like.
Okay, good. James Linder said that's enough for a good spaghetti. And then you have Janice, is it Manry? That apron itself is cheesy enough. That's what I said too.
Hey, can y'all please follow Food Talk TV? Sign up and get notifications so you'll know when we're live.
And subscribe to our YouTube, okay? Just go to YouTube, Food Talk TV.
Please.
We are Food Talk TV on all social media. Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
I left the other ones in the oven because
Oh my
these aren't
God.
100% done, but I wanted to at least show you what they look like.
Beautiful. Look at
They're
that.
not fancy. They came right out of the silicone. The apples still have a little texture and bite. Yeah, they'll need about 10 more minutes, but that's what these are going to look like when these are done.
Beautiful.
And how I would serve these, I'll be honest, I would serve them super simple. On a little board, a little bit of butter, maybe a little bit of jam, and you're good to go.
My heart is beating.
But I would want, I'm going to want these to get a little bit browner just because I think they need a little bit more time, but I wanted everybody to see it. So once again, we've got Cowboy grinders based off of Trisha Yearwood's Cowboy lasagna recipe. We've got some vintage recipe pepperoni puffs, and then we've got, here, I'll show you the better view of those.
Beautiful.
And then we have a simple carrot and apple muffin. And I think the reason I made this is because I wanted people to realize that we often see the carrot cake style muffins that are very dark, they're very dense. They don't have to be. They can be super light as well. And I just want to let you know, here are the cookbooks I actually pulled some of these from.
Hey, Frank, the TikTok cowboy said, I'm coming over to eat, especially because I'm the cowboy.
There you go. There you go. As long as
the cowboy sauce.
Hey, I will, as long as people come over, they realize they may get out the clean. All right,
Where
everybody.
are the cookbooks? You were going to show a cookbook.
So this is one of the cookbooks. This is the cookbook that the carrot muffins come from. It actually is called Cape Cod Cooking, and it is from. It's a reprint, and this was from some of these recipes come from the early 1900s, right up until probably mid 70s. The other recipe came from the best of New England. I cook a lot of New England regional recipes, and as you can tell, I'm working my way through the tabs. And then there's an older cookbook that I will be talking more about. They're the old recipes, and Sherry has one version with that has a wooden cover, but there's another version that I really am enjoying.
Frank,
And
I got to tell you something. I went on eBay to show people where they could go find that because I had 1 million people ask. And there's one from the South. I need to go order.
Yeah, there are definitely. I think people just took a standard cookbook and then put the covers on them during one era. Yeah, they're very available on they're very much available on eBay. That. So totally. Well, everybody, thank you for joining me for lunch. I'll have these recipes up in the next day or two on our live. My queens, thank you for visiting. All of my colleagues and curators, thank you for joining and spending time. And I really love how interactive you all are. Ask questions. If, you can always email us questions at our website, or you can DM questions. You can always follow me and ask me specific questions. Sometimes we get so many questions on Food Talk we can't respond, but you can always message us if you're following us individually. But with that, have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll post more recipes later.
Beautiful job, Frank, like always.
Always.
And, I have to sort of clean up, so I have to help clean up. Wait a minute. I have to, I've got to clean up some more.
Some more teasing right out to the end.
My God. And I still have sandwiches. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Great exit, Frank.